Welcome to Laundry Talk, a podcast for women anywhere and everywhere. A podcast for women who just need a little jolt of auditory caffeine, a tiny dose of encouragement, a dash of motivation, and maybe even just a friend. I'm Magnolia Knight, a young wife and mama, putting my best boots forward and encouraging you while doing the laundry. Around here, it's real life with real purpose. I felt in my spirit to look into the story about the boy with the fish and the loaves. To give a little background, Jesus and the disciples had been traveling far. Crowds were following him, and they had gone out into the countryside, away from towns, so food was not easy to come by. So this Bible verse is found in John chapter 6, verses 8 through 11, and it says, "Then Andrew, Simon Peter's brother, spoke up. 'There's a young boy here with 5 barley loaves and 2 fish. But what good is that with this huge crowd?' 'Tell everyone to sit down,' Jesus said. So they all sat down on the grassy slopes. The men alone numbered about 5,000. Then Jesus took the loaves, gave thanks to God, and distributed them to the people. Afterward, he did the same with the fish, and they all ate as much as they wanted." There are so many things happening in this story. It's not just that Jesus performed a miracle, it's so much more. It's the little boy's act of generosity and obedience, offering up his lunch. I don't know very many men who would be willing to share their food when they're hungry, much less a child. It's God qualifying the one he has called, not necessarily calling the already qualified. That little boy gave what he had, and God did the rest to make it enough. It's trusting the Lord to meet your needs. It's a reminder that Jesus was fully man and fully God. He sees us, and he relates to us in real human ways. People were probably hot, tired, and hungry, just like we get. But what really stirred up my spirit this time around was the thought of that unseen mama, that little boy's mama, the woman who had probably packed his lunch before sending him out for the day. If she hadn't been faithful in doing her small daily duties for her family, her God-given calling, the story might have looked very different. Not because the Lord couldn't provide, but because her obedience played a role in the miracle. Psalms chapter 127 verse 3 says, "Children are a gift from the Lord. They are a reward from him." Her faithfulness was part of fulfilling her purpose. It reminds me of the words in Esther, "Who knows if perhaps you were made queen for such a time as this?" Maybe her whole reason for existing at that moment in time was to play a small, behind-the-scenes role in a big story. And what's wild is she's never even mentioned, but her quiet faithfulness mattered. Now, for those of you who may be skeptical or feel like people are maybe over-reading into this, I did do my research. In ancient Jewish culture, women were largely responsible for keeping the kosher laws. So, we can assume that if not the boy's mother, then it was a woman, at the very least, who cared enough to pack him a generous lunch for the day. She was walking out her God-given role. We are all called to different ministries, talents, and roles, but the one thing women share, no matter our season, is the role of a nurturer and caretaker. The rhythms in your life, the mundane tasks that feel unfulfilling, unimportant, or go completely unrecognized, they are actually a privilege. They are called to obedience from the Lord. Our faithfulness and good stewardship of our families is one of the greatest callings over our lives. And here's the beautiful part. We were all created uniquely. Our minds, our strengths, our personalities, they are all different. That's why your puzzle piece was made to fit your family. What you do matters, it's valuable, and yes, the Lord sees it. Colossians 3:23 says, "Whatever you do, work at it with all your heart, as working for the Lord, not for human masters." He is faithful to reward us, and he is the one who strengthens us. This is some encouragement for the moms who feel tired, the ones who are sick of all the cooking and all the cleaning. I felt called to create this podcast to help you find your rhythm, to encourage you to think creatively about how you organize your home and your time. I want to share with you the biopsychology behind organization and how it creates a happy mama and a happy home. A little background about me. I have a college degree in social sciences and studied psychology. I struggled for a very long time with ADHD, but now I figured out how to work with it instead of against it. I used to be very disorganized. I was constantly failing classes because of misplaced homework, forgotten supplies, and lack of preparedness. No matter how well advertised a test was, I somehow never knew what was going on, and every single one felt like a pop quiz. When I got married at age 20, I didn't know how to run a household. I barely knew how to cook a meal for myself, and quite literally, I was drowning. And then 6 months later, we found out we were having a baby, because that's how it goes. But I say all this because maybe some of this sounds like you. And let me encourage you that there is hope. Life changed for me, and I've become one of the most organized people I know now. So I keep mentioning this word rhythm. I like it better than the word balance because I can never seem to find true balance. And when I do, it's absolutely exhausting to maintain. But rhythm is sustainable. Think about it. Everything comes in waves. When we see family at Thanksgiving, it's all sides of family all at once, and then we go months without seeing anyone. When we're busy at work, it seems to all come at once in 1 week, and then after that, it's dead. When one thing breaks in the house, everything else seems to follow all at once, right? It's rhythm, not balance. Balance takes a lot of effort and energy. It can be draining. It's hard to keep up with the laundry, the dishes, the never-ending cycle of meals. But building a rhythm, starting with one small thing at a time, riding the momentum when you have it, and resting when it slows, becomes energizing. It becomes one small win after another. It even starts to rewire your brain. It builds confidence. You are not a failure. You're just a work in progress. I like the quote that says, "Don't try to eat the elephant all at once, but just take one bite at a time." Something I loved about my studies in psychology is that it challenges the ways that we think about abnormalities. In Western culture, we see them as problems. Think of it like this. If a child were never asked to learn through a traditional learning method, and instead was free to learn through taste, touch, and experience, how long would it take before anyone said, "This child has ADHD"? Would it even be recognized at all unless it became a problem in the structure of our society? No, it wouldn't. So instead of fighting the way God made me, I learned to embrace it. And I hope that what I share helps you to change your mindset too, to find new rhythms, to make this whole wife and mama thing go a little smoother, so that your cup may overflow, so that you no longer feel empty and exhausted, but instead experience joy, peace, and comfort in your home. Together, we renounce chaos and clutter, and we welcome order and peace to come and stay. Back to the unseen mama. I wondered just how tired she must have been. And I'd even go out on a limb to say that the enemy probably tried to get in the way of her making that lunch that day. He always seems to interrupt us when we're on the verge of something incredible. Maybe she was juggling a million things, and making another lunch was just the last thing she wanted to do. She could have said, "No, you're not going out. I'm not making an extra lunch. You will stay here and eat with the rest of us when we eat." But she didn't. She felt it was important enough for her son to go visit this teacher named Jesus. So she planned and packed and gave her boy what he needed. And that obedience mattered. I went ahead and looked up on AI all the roles that a wife and mother plays. And if you do this, you'll get at least 17 distinct roles. I was blown away. Here are just a few. Roles of a wife. It's an emotional partner. It's a household manager. It's a conflict resolver. It's a social connector. The roles of a mother. It's a caregiver, a nurturer, a teacher, a role model, an advocate, a support system, a manager. In many cases today, she's also a provider. She's a healer. And then if you ask specifically the roles of a Christian wife, we are called to be a helper and a companion to our husbands, an encourager and builder, a spiritual partner, and a virtuous woman. Think of the Proverbs 31 woman. The roles of a Christian mother are to be a teacher of God's word, a comforter, a discipler, a prayer warrior, a peacemaker, hardworking and resourceful. No wonder we are so tired. And I'm young. I only have one kid. But this is why we have to lean into the Lord for strength. We obviously can't do it all on our own. And I've tried. I did not understand the weight of this verse, John 15:5, until recently. Jesus said, Yes, I am the vine, you are the branches. Those who remain in me and I in them will produce much fruit, for apart from me, you can do nothing. And Jesus really did mean nothing. Maybe that's why the laundry piles up and the dishes are never done. If even our chores aren't seen as acts of worship, stewardship of the blessings the Lord gave us, then we're doing them apart from the vine, and they bear no fruit. The mindset shift is a must. Ladies, once we recognize our calling as mothers, as wives, as perfectly placed puzzle pieces in our homes and generations, we begin to see these chores not as burdens, but as acts of worship, daily acts of worship. That shift changes everything. Monotony becomes fruit, striving becomes blessing, and duty becomes reward. All the verses today were read from the New Living Translation. If you struggle to get into the Word and really understand what you're reading, I believe that this translation can make a world of difference for you. I'll include the verses from today in the description, and if one spoke to you, I encourage you, please write it down. Place it somewhere you'll see it. For Hebrews chapter 4, verse 12 says, "For the word of God is alive and powerful. It is sharper than the sharpest two-edged sword. It exposes our innermost thoughts and desires." Take your thoughts captive. Start with God's truth. Speak his word over your life, over your home, and over your family. And it won't be long before you begin to feel a shift, a new work in your life, and a new energy for the roles God has given you as a wife and a mama. You are not alone. XOXO, Magnolia.